Hello, 9 to 5ers. I'm Elizabeth Ajadi, your host for 9 to 5 and everything in between. Welcome to another episode. This season, we've been exploring the ripple effect, how market dynamics are reshaping our work and lives. Today, we're specifically diving into a prime example of this ripple effect, the evolving world of automation in new vehicles, with a special focus in voice automation, because our special guest works in voice automation. It's a space that's rapidly transforming how we interact with our cars, making our commutes smarter, safer, and more connected, and demonstrating how shifts in technology, economy, and even societal expectations create profound disruptions across an entire industry. In 2023, the in-car voice assistant market was valued at an impressive $21.83 billion, and it is projected to skyrocket to over $64 billion by 2031, growing at a CAGR of over 14%. This explosive growth isn't a technological marvel. It's a direct outcome of shifting consumer demand and market dynamics.
I hope that someday in the future, like the car really can understand us, like emotionally.
Nearly 95% of consumers are expected to use conversational assistants in their cars within the next 3 years. And a significant 73% of US drivers are even willing to share data for voice commerce functionally. This isn't just about convenience. It's about a fundamental shift in user expectations, creating a ripple effect that reshapes everything from automotive R&D to the very roles within the industry.
People that are not confident enough or like have a little bit disability to be able to drive.
To help us navigate this complex and exciting landscape, and to understand how these ripples impact the very fabric of how we design, test, and use technology, we have a very special guest, Dala Rifat, a senior QA engineer who plays a critical role in ensuring these automation systems are not just functional, but truly intuitive and reliable. This conversation is going to be exciting because Dala is not just an engineer. She does QA testing and she's worked in the automotive industry over the last 9 years. And so she's seen it all from working with product managers, quality assurance, quality management, product owners, engineers, developers, everyone across the board. And I'm sure that we're going to learn so much from this conversation. Hi, 9 to 5ers. I'm Elizabeth Ajadi. Welcome to another episode of 9 to 5 and everything in between. We are more than halfway through the season, and I'm so excited for all the conversations that we've had around the ripple effects that's happening around us, whether it's caused by economic changes, political changes, climate changes, technological changes. There are so many ripple effects that we've discussed across numerous industries. And I'm so excited, particularly to talk about today's topic that is the intelligent co-pilot, the ripple effect of automation in modern vehicles. And we have a fantastic guest today, my dear friend Dala. She and I go way back. We go 10 years back, and we met when we both studied abroad at Chonggang University in Seoul, South Korea. And it's been an incredible journey over the last 10 years. We've had so many more adventures between us and our friend group. We do so many trips. We try to travel every year now since the last 3 years. And we've made it work with all of us living across the continents. And so, Dala, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you for inviting.
Yes. So, the guests, I want them to get to know you, get to know what you do, and we can dive into the conversation from there. So, yes, Dala, please introduce yourself.
Okay. So, hi, my name is Dala. I'm originally from Indonesia. Currently, I'm working as a senior quality assurance engineer in one company. Like it's US based, but like located in Germany. Yeah, I've been working here since as a student in the past since 2017 as a tester. And afterwards, I started my full time career as a resident engineer. And then now, I mean, I'm no longer resident engineer, but I'm still in area of quality assurance engineer. Yeah, working through different projects then.
Yeah. Dala does quality assurance, and we will not go specifically into the vehicles or the technology that she works on, specifically for confidentiality purposes. Obviously, it's trade secrets. She can't be sharing stuff about her company and the tech that they use. But we're going to talk around the work around automation in motor vehicles and how technology is driving that today. So, Dala, thank you so much for being here. Really excited to dive into this conversation. You know, when I started to think about this topic, I remember I had this like aha moment a few weeks back. I was going through close friends, and Della was doing some testing that day, and it just hit me like, oh my god, like I have this subject matter expert in my friend group, and I need to invite her to come talk to the audience. First of all, we're talking about ripple effects, but just generally speaking, 9 to 5 is a platform that I have to be able to explore opportunities that other professionals can go into. And, you know, this is an area that is interesting specifically to me. Technology is transforming how we interact with our cars. It's making our commutes faster, safer, and more connected, and demonstrating how this shifts in technology will continue to evolve over the next decade. I drive a Mazda CX-5, and it's 2001. I haven't tested the most recent ones. And I remember one of the things that I wanted from a car was just the push to start one, and then the ability to start my car from my cell phone, or like to start it from somewhere. The reason, because I live in a place that snows a lot, and so I wanted in the winter to be able to warm up my car. And when I went for the Mazda, those were just the two things that I went for. And it seems like such a simple thing, but it makes my life so much easier. Like just the fact that I can start my car and have it just warming up for 15 minutes and heat it up, so that I'm not sitting on a cold seat, or in the summer I'm not sitting on a hot leather seat. That automation in my vehicle and the technology really has made my life easier. 10 years ago, 15, maybe let's say 20 years ago, we probably was not even thinking that that could be happening, but it probably was already in R&D 20 years ago, you know, for testing. And that's the premise of the things that we want to talk about today. So, Dala, I know you talked about you've been a test engineer. Tell us a little bit about how you got into this world. Obviously, you studied computer engineering. How did you get into the world of testing and quality assurance?
Well, I didn't specifically look for this job. When I got the job, it was pretty brand new. So I was studying in Aachen. And back then, I just signed up for student work as an administrator in this company that I've been working now. And during the interview, they're asking me, well, you have a technical background. How would you like to have another position? Like we have a student position for a student tester. Like, are you interested? And then I said, yeah, sure. Like, and then, like another manager then show me around like what the work would be as a student tester. So I'd say, oh, this sounds interesting. I never knew about this before. So yeah, that was the beginning why I was drawn into QA world. Like from there on, I worked for 1.5 years until they said, well, we need people like to be able to travel because they need somebody there. Would you like to join like full time? I said, sure, why not? Like I think I was a bit that time worried that, you know, like I was still not finished. And then my dad say, well, a lot of people wants to have a job. So like, this is a very good opportunity for you to take and to learn. So yeah, that's where I start then working my career in QA, and yeah, plenty to learn. And even until now, I'm learning every day. There's so much layers to unfold.
So, question, can you describe a day in your life in your work? Like, you just wake up on a Monday morning. What would you be doing?
Wake up, that depends. Sometimes I have to travel to my other office, which is like about 1.5 hours from where I live.
Mm-hmm.
And once I'm there, then I start testing. Well, of course, I read emails and I look, okay, what do I need to test today? I'm normally testing in when it's on development and when we do deliver. So I mean, when it's delivered, we call it release week. So if it's release week, then it's going to be a little bit more stressful because I have to prepare a lot of documentation, like what we need to test, like during this week or during these 2 days. So I will first prepare that. And once in the office, then I will start like testing, of course, a few calls. And then afterwards, I go home. If it's not yet ready, and I mean, we still need one more day, then I repeat the same day. But if it's the last day and I submit the report, then I will have a nice sleep, I guess.
So, like when you say your testing, that means you're physically looking at the car and testing the software, testing the engineering, and all of that.
Yes and no, like that depends because like back in the day, I would spend like all of my working day mostly sitting in the car and testing and driving.
Okay.
Now we also have like another options. Of course, if the car sometimes is not there. So you have a thing called test bench. So it's just like you get only the monitor itself, like the display,
Okay.
and that's it. You test on that one. And
Yeah.
sometimes that
Or
depends on the operating system that your like car has. You can also test on the laptop. So there's a lot
right.
of way to.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And in just what you described, it's telling me that even in the way you operate and the way you do your work, there's been an evolution where years ago you probably had to physically drive the car, but now you're able to test it like from the computer or test it with just the motherboard. So that sounds very interesting.
It's a plus minus though. Like in the end, we always have to test in the car because like that's the end product, and like you drive with it. Like there's a lot more normally bugs that you found when you drive 3-4 hours rather than sitting on the test bench. So that's just like as a walk around. If we don't
Right.
have a car, or it's like you just need to test something that does not heavily rely on the car. For
Okay.
example, like it's not the sensors or how like speed, whatever, then it's
I see.
okay to test it there. Like you don't have to be always in the car.
That makes sense. That's oh my god. Like my mind is blown. I mean, of course, it sounds exciting when you describe it because I'm not the one that has to sit and do the work, but I can imagine testing like it's repetitive, going over the same prompt over and over again. So might not be as fun as I'm thinking.
Well, it's I mean, it's more fun when you don't have to drive it. I mean, for
Interesting.
me, like personally, for me, like if I'm sitting in passenger side, I have to document. That for me is easier than you have to drive, you have to focus, and then you also have to test. Like I did it also, but back in the day where I couldn't drive, so I always sit in co-driver. That feels, at least for me, much nicer than driving.
I see. All right. No, that sounds exciting. I just wanted to lay the groundwork for people to understand your work and, the details of your role. Obviously, we can still reference it again. So, we always do this thing where we'll do a scenario. So I'm going to ask, what would Dala do? Because we always say, what would Elizabeth do? So today you're in the hot seat. So what would Dala do? The scenario is very, very detailed and very multi-layered. So let's imagine a scenario that is illustrating the ripple effects because again we're talking about how market dynamics are shaping our work and lives overall. That's the overarching theme of our season, and your team has just developed this groundbreaking new voice AI system, or maybe not just voice AI, an AI system in general for a luxury electric vehicle. It's designed to be hyper personalized, learning the driver's habits, preferences, and even the emotional states to proactively offer assistance, from suggesting a coffee stop when it detects fatigue to adjusting climate based on stress levels, or even rerouting to avoid traffic based on your calendar appointments. The system is incredibly powerful, but it's deeply personalized. And this personalization relies on extensive data collection, including your biometric and your location data. Why? Because it's rerouting you, and biometric, it's checking your stress levels for coffee stop. And then the marketing team, even I personally hearing all of this, I'm excited. The marketing team is excited because they see this as a major selling point for an intelligent co-pilot, because it feels like somebody is thinking for you and you don't have to think too deeply. However, just before the launch, there's a new stringent global privacy regulation that requires explicit granular consent for every type of data that you collect and for every specific use case. So they're saying if you're collecting location, you have to get consent. If you're getting their health biometric data, you have to get consent. If you're getting XYZ data, you have to get consent. In addition to that, the public is saying, well, it just feels like somebody is monitoring me. Like, who is looking at this information? Is it just the AI, or is Big Brother looking at this detail? It feels like somebody's always listening, and there's potential for data breaches. And you're the senior QA engineer, and you're responsible for the system's integrity, one, and the user experience. What would you be prioritizing based on this innovative feature? Is it the regulation or the launch? Because obviously you have to have a successful launch, but you want to put in mind that you need to comply with these new regulations while addressing consumer privacy concerns, because consumers are clamoring. They're the ones you're going to sell to. So it would be bad if you roll out this product, you release this new product, and nobody buys it because they have concerns. So what would you do to balance the innovation with ethical responsibility and the market readiness of this car?
Well, when I first read the question, I was like, oh no, this is gonna be a lot of work and stress, and would like, I can imagine it. It's like, this is not the first time. Like, I mean, similarly, like, okay, something happened that you have to change a lot of stuff. Like, this has happened before. And I was like,
Oh no.
but mostly like everything that's gonna go into production, it will take longer. So basically, it's not like it comes today and like next week you will have it. So you will have, of course, some time to work on it. But as you said, because you are actually ready to launch and then this regulation comes, prioritize. I mean, I would still see the law first as the prioritization, because hey, even if you launch and you still have not like match adhere to these rules, then you are still like breaking the law, right? So I guess if you ask me what would the prioritize be, of course we have to like ensure that the law is taken like very seriously. But also on
Mhm.
the other hand, that means chop, 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 fast, fast, fast. We have lots of things to take care of.
Right.
I mean, in the QS side, what would we do? While of course this is like mostly the product management like work, and also all the developers to see, okay, what do they need to do technically? But at least for QA, if their product is anyway there, I would just still go dive deep into the system and see, okay, which actually has already some consent, for example, like navigation, because anyway, if you buy a car, normally you would have already a navigation system on it and that would be always there. So which one, like which data has already consent, and of course, which use case has not yet. So you have this list of test cases, or like, yeah, like scenario where would you need the data for. So in
Yeah.
case that the developer already finished like developing it, so hey, here is the first like draft, can you test it? Then you already at least have a checklist to check, okay, it's here, it's in A and B and C, but hey, I see in D, E, F, it has not been yet implemented. Can you please like take a look again?
Right.
So I guess that would be like the first steps, like what we could do like before the
Mhm.
real launch.
So it sounds like the product manager would be the one to make the decision, essentially. I know it's, too about product management. So I know that because it's their product, they're responsible for the launch, while coordinating efforts of everybody behind the scenes, the engineers, the QA, the testers, and everybody that would marketing, communication, PR, and everybody that would be doing work behind the scenes. So but from your end, you would be collecting all the pieces of data that and the use cases to understand. So, I mean, I agree with you in that, yes, the law comes first, because I work in a legal field now. I'm not a lawyer. but I work with lawyers, and I know that they would be more concerned about the potential impact of maybe a lawsuit that could hit us if we go ahead and launch it, knowing that a regulation has been enacted that could impact this product. So it defeats the purpose of launching a new product if you're just tied up in the lawsuit against the government, no less, because of privacy concerns. And especially in Europe, where you're based, I know that they are super picky about privacy and a lot of the way like products you collect user information. So I can imagine that that could be dragged out forever and ever. Again, going back to AI, and I wanted to talk a little bit about, because this scenario touches on ethical responsibility, AI, and obviously as we use AI, there's concerns from everyone thinking, what are they using my data for? Who's collecting it? Even I sometimes think that it's just I've gotten to a point where I have a comfort level with they're using it, so what? Like, unless there's somebody coming after me for my safety, then I feel like the data is just being collected to refine things, to refine our user experience. So I want to talk about user expectations for, in-car automation. Specifically, I know that maybe in the past you worked on voice automation. So I crafted a question around voice automation, but we can go around just automation for go in general, years that you've worked in testing in vehicles. Can you describe maybe some notable things that you've seen that has evolved in your years of being in the QA world? And the technology is changing. So how does your own testing process and QA process adapt to these changes, to this rapidly changing demands, especially concerning natural language understanding and conversational AI? So users want more and more and more. How are you prioritizing how you evolve your testing process?
Well, I've seen like some products like through some generations. So like back in the day when I start work, I think like when you talk into the car, you can only say specific stuff. So you say navigate to 123 Sesame Street in New York, or like very specific, and sometimes you cannot even say those. I think in some cars, if you see older cars, you can just only say navigate to where, to which city. So you have to, like, you have to like block it like one by one. And it's like, or you have to say play radio, I don't know, some frequency FM, like very, very like word by word. If you say, I want to play radio, it won't work. I think that was the case like 10 years ago. And now I think users are more like they expect more and more. Like they expect that the car works seamlessly. Like I think like I'm feeling tired and I want to like I don't know fill my gas. Can you please find a route or something? And then I mean user expect it right, like to just directly set up the route beside. I mean along the way. And so I think now these days the user will expect like more natural like conversation with the car. So and also like the tone that is not more robotic. So I guess they want to like feel okay. I'm talking to a person or like naturally and not like very robotic, answer.
Yeah, no, that actually is quite correct, because I always feel frustrated in the past with my previous vehicle when I would press like play this or call this pressing, and it would always not understand, or it would make me have to go through like 5 clicks. And I'm driving, so I'm trying to just hit and make the one command and just go do what I asked you to do. But I always had to like hit so many buttons to get there. And as you're driving, you're thinking about safe. You want to
Yeah.
concentrate on the road, and you don't want to have to like pick up your phone and start searching the thing by yourself. So it's just it's amazing to see how it's evolved. And I think a lot of it too is attributed to CarPlay as well. So with my car, I have CarPlay, so it connects to my phone as well. So if I say call this person, it automatically just goes through my contact. In a way, I've given access to my car to read my phone contact. So there's a privacy user data that I've allowed them to collect, and that's fine. It's not like my car is saving the information or anything.
In most of the cars, like if you connect your phone to the car, they will just collect the data offline. So only when you connect it, and of course, if you have some very difficult name that may be like English, right? Normal English, or like German, let's say, if you have like my name or somebody from other country that is not very tuned to German language, then they would ask, normally they would ask, the system would ask, for this, I would need to upload your data online, or I would need to use online. Would you like me to do that? So in the end, like normally user have the options. Yes, it's okay as long as you understand me, upload my data to the internet or like use the internet. Otherwise, normally it will stay inside. I mean, it will only stay when you connect your phone to the car.
Nice. That's great to know. That's actually great to know. I never thought about that. And oh my God, my mind is like sparkling because I'm thinking, wow, so it's trying to connect to like Google Translate or some translation models to be able to get that information and that language. That is so exciting.
From the voice perspective view, it's able to try to depict it your like what the tuning, or like what you are trying to say, like which syllables comes together, because sometimes it's more powerful to have it like in the online than to
Mhm.
have the embedded voice recognition.
Oh, that sounds very, very like I'm so geeked out right now. And it's exciting because all of these will continue to evolve. We'll continue
Yeah.
to see more. I was at a party yesterday and it was raining very heavily. Then it would stop. It was like it was raining every 10 minutes. It would rain and it would stop. It would rain and then it would stop. So when I was ready to go, it wasn't raining and then I got caught up talking to somebody. Then the rain started very heavily as well, and I didn't have my umbrella, so I couldn't go to my car. And somebody made a comment like, "Wouldn't it be nice if you could just call your car from your phone and say, 'Meet me here,' and like come pick me up, and you could just do that?" And I was like, "Yeah, that would be nice." And it's so funny because as when they said it, I was like, "Well, I'm talking about cars tomorrow," so that's something that interestingly happened, and I can see that happening in another 10 years or maybe
Yeah, that's the
less.
future. I mean, from your case that you're telling, I mean, car automation itself has level, right? Level 0 until level 5. And the one
Mm,
that you just, like level 0 is like you always need user to do everything. And I think most of the car these days, they have level 1 or level 2. And level 5 is like where driver is not required at all. So like one that you tell, like it's like driver is not required at all. Or I mean, it could be also level 4 or level
yeah, yeah.
3. I think some of the car I've seen, like you can say, okay, pick me up here.
Mm.
A little bit, like I think in this certain area, sure, but at least not in Europe. So yeah, that's, that's the future.
Wow. Oh my God. Yes. That sounds great. And I like that. Again, you mentioned it in the beginning. User experience, user demand is actually making companies continue to evolve. And that actually is a good segue to the next thing I wanted to ask about is in, market shift and competition, how, other companies are actually maybe forcing each other. I'm in a few episodes, I talked about how not one person, not one brand, not one organization can rule the entire landscape or monopolize an industry. I mean, look at in vehicles, Tesla came in and pioneered electric vehicles. And before you know it, every vehicle brand that existed realized, you know what, we need to catch up. And they started doing R&D. And I drive a Mazda now as an EV option, not a CX-5, but another one completely that is completely EV. I know Mercedes has one. I know Audi has this. So all of these vehicles have started to release their own version
EV
of,
car, then, yeah.
because they know that everybody cares about climate. And so because of that, I want to talk about the R&D process a little bit. When you're looking at a new automation feature, and maybe not you specifically, but within organize from experience, when you guys are looking at a new automation feature, from the initial develop R&D to deployment, what is your role? Where do you come in that entire journey of releasing this new product or new vehicle, and how do the challenges in testing different interfaces create like maybe ripples in the entire development pipeline? So in simple terms,
Yeah.
it's basically like, okay, what if they have this completely brand new technology, this new product, and you're like, we've never tested that before. We've never tested anything like that before. So it would cause you to have to innovate in your role as well. So how does that create ripples through your own process?
Well, like normally, like QA wise, there's a level of like where you are positioned. Like for me
Mm,
specifically, I normally already get, okay, we have this prototype, so test it and then, yeah, look how it is going. And there was also like QA actually, like theoretically, I took my test last, no, 2 years ago for to be like QA tester certified, like theoretically
okay.
QA has to always be there alongside the product development. So even from the beginning, QA should actually also like look at the specification and the requirement. You know, like they
Mm,
have to also like theoretically, I said theoretically, to test like, okay, like if they see the requirement, oh, we might be missing this and that, and that's where they come from. But like come back to like where I work, like in the, I would say R&D phase, like QA or like prototype QA. So if we don't have like a feature, this is totally new. Let's say, like you say, let's take the consent again. So, okay, I would maybe start being creative to see okay, where we can test this, collect all the infos. And also normally if they change stuff, they should have any, like, I mean, they would mean developer, there should be any documentation or like the flow that at least we could see, okay, so this feature, it is probably about this and that. So
mm,
first, normally I would test like in the line with the feature that they wrote. Okay, it's supposed to be here and there. And then the fun part begins when you have to test against the feature. Okay, let's move all the negative test case. Like, does it work or does it not work? Like, for example, with the consent. Okay, they implement all the consent, right? What if I say no? Will it work if I say no? Or like,
mm,
let's say sensor, like you collect the sensor data. If I say no for one, will it work also in another like cases that have sensors? Like, so
right.
yeah, QA just needs to be creative to see, okay, what I can test against it, because sometimes it's like what's missed in the development.
Development, you would be able to capture QA. And the way you described it, it honestly, it boils down to the business requirements have to be very, very clear. And the documentations have to be very clear every step of the way for you to be able to take that information and interpret it to understand, okay, why did they program that way? And what should I be testing? Because if you didn't have documentation, it would make your life very, very difficult because you don't know what you're testing against. You don't know how it's supposed to work. And you're walking blind basically. That actually sounds interesting. About how long, I know you said that they provide a prototype. About how long would you say it takes to in that R&D? Is it a year? Is it 2 years? Is it 5 years?
I think it's
Or does
much more than a year. I remember, I think, I don't know. I started working at 2018, like full time, and we have a launch at 2021. So, and they already started before that. So I guess 3 to 4 years. But
right?
which, I mean, that was like, we talk about 2022. It was like 3 and 4 years ago, 2021, right? I think now that the, like market shifts, competition, everybody wants fast, fast, fast. I guess it's happening a lot more quicker. Especially there's this feature in most cars that call over the air, where you can just update your software like with a click. It's like updating your Apple or Android like with a click. So I guess
Mhm.
they would expect like more and more like faster updates.
Okay, so now they're moving from it being like hardware to software where you can just push an update and the vehicle automatically has it. That is brilliant because, it makes me think of, how you have a car and then there's a recall on a particular part and they're like, oh, they have to change this part. If it's a software, of course, I mean, if it's like the engine, you have to take it in. But like if it's the motherboard, the software that drives the vehicle, like they can do a remote repair. Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That is so awesome. I love that. I'm so stoked about that. But yes, I agree on that point. I think it's actually happening in every industry. Everybody wants what they want now. That's why Amazon exists with 2-day prime shipping. Like I want to order something. I remember that I need it and I immediately go on Amazon and I know that I would be able to get it. And the funny thing is 10 years ago, before Amazon rolled out Prime, like if I wanted something, I would just go to the store and I would drive around multiple stores to find it on the like I never had this sense of I have to have it now. But now it's like I have to have it now. What do you mean it's not arriving? There's this sense of urgency that us as users now have. And it's definitely pushing different industry to reevaluate how they deliver products and services. I want to touch on roles because you've talked about it a little bit. You work in the QA world. I mean, but then there's so many people behind the scenes that work together with you to get this product to launch. So, what other types of roles in different teams do you have to collaborate with? And do you have some departmental challenges or challenges at all that you've encountered, and how do you work through them? Before you answer the question, and let's talk about, the scenario you said it's the product manager that
Yeah.
drives the decision. So let's say in that scenario, the product manager says, actually, engineering, you have to work like overnight and get me this product because we are keeping the launch day. The product manager is like, we're not shifting the launch day. Everybody has to come on board.
Yeah. I mean, even until now, I think I still also sometimes like surprised to see there is this position. It's doing this, like in terms of cars, I mean, there's a lot of like position, like to be able to make it work. But in terms of software, like let's say voice, right? Like, because I'm working in that field, of course we have product manager, the one that own the product, the one that actually, if you have any questions, you come to them. Hey, I want to know more about this feature and that feature. I mean, I think they're also working on the concept as well of the product. And
Right.
some company, they even have the concept team separately. Those, the one that, yeah, what if this, what is they study the user. Okay. We have this, case. What do we need? Like what features do we need and so on. Right.
Mhm.
And there's also the development team, of course, that depends on how you work, like with this software life cycle. If you're working agile, I mean, a lot of company using Scrum team, for example, normally they have product owner, they have also developer and quality assurance, QA, and there's also quality management that does a lot of work with the process management and all the standardized ISO numbers, blah, blah, blah. I mean, they're also like, it's very important. I didn't know a lot about it until like a few years ago. And I was like, oh, wow, this looks like a very tough job to look at all the requirements and like, yeah, to follow it up, right? There's also cybersecurity. I think these days it comes more and more like a
Yeah.
position to check whether everything in compliance with each other, whether like you legally, like you code without leaking any like company
Right.
secrets, or whether also, yeah, like to check like whether you code everything accordingly.
Okay.
Integration engineer, like normally they also belong to QA, or they could be developer. So we test developer, programmer, developer, they code. So there's in between, you need like somebody or like a
Mm,
team to make sure that this like code will be integrated nicely. Like here we have an end product that you can test. So normally,
mm.
at least for QA, I get my testing, like the data from the integrator. Hey, here we have the software ready here for you to test.
Oh, that makes sense. I see. I see. I see. And the integration engineers, so they sometimes work with because obviously you're integrating with maybe another software from another
Yes,
product.
integrators are normally the one that having also meetings with another like third party or with the OEMs to see, okay, we are delivering this and that part. I almost forgot error manager. It's also very important work. Like, so error manager, mostly they manage all the tickets that coming. They are very political. Like, you met the other error manager from other company. You talk about, okay, here are the bugs that we deliver. Here are the bugs we don't deliver because of this issue, or this fix or this feature will need a little bit more time. And yeah, it
Mm,
could be also like pretty interesting job. So, and okay, there's so many and like, it's not ending because like it keep coming to my like head. I think one of the also like difficult part is to work, yeah, as a the person or like the team that say, okay, the feature, I mean, this is not specifically to any company, but maybe like a bigger part that makes the end decision. Okay, this feature or like this software is good to go, because it's going to be your responsibility. If something like bad happening, it's going to be on you. If like you say, okay, you tested this, like this is not QA, this is much more bigger than that. So normally they need multiple days of like test drives or even multiple weeks to see whether the maturity is already reached. And it's like it's in your team, like hand that you say, okay, this is go or no go. So I guess that position will also be a bit very, very like difficult to have.
Right. No, that actually sounds very, very interesting, but I can also imagine difficult for the product manager because, you know, having to collaborate with all these different teams and various teams to make sure everybody does their part. And then the scrum teams are also pushing for everybody to hit their deliverables. But I mean, it also helps when organizations work in agile because then you have your small tasks like, okay, we're focusing on this in the next few weeks. Let's get moving. Each team, you have your marching orders. So it eases things and allows you to troubleshoot faster. If something is going to fail, you know that it would fail and then you can immediately recalibrate. You mentioned, you're testing for the user experience. So I want to talk about the human element in QA. Most of the times you're trying to avoid robotic interactions, like you mentioned earlier. Like you want the voice to like sound smooth and not just I am going to the car. You want it to sound smooth and you're testing for all these things. How are you checking for subjective elements like user comfort, trust, overall satisfaction? Like, you're testing for it's a car. It's not a human being, but like you want people to feel comfortable in it. So how are you testing for that?
Well, I mean, in terms of voice, yeah, prompts play a bigger part. So that's, as you said, like you don't want also to hear robotics, right? So normally I would just put an ear that depends on, okay, am I now want to look in general, like how the prompt should be, or do I test another features? Because like if you test both way, like it's difficult to sometimes keep in focus. You want to test A or B. So if it were me, I would just normally, okay, I will now let's see how flawless it is when I ask, especially with longer prompts. If I ask about opinion about something, then I would, okay, here first, what's important is like, okay, let's hear if there is any glitch, because sometimes, like even though it sounds natural, it could occur sometimes that there's some glitch in between the words. Then I would like try to see, okay, is this like happen once, or does it happen always for certain words or certain formulation? And also what's like important is like to see if, let's say I'm in Germany, right? So the prompt normally I tested in German. So what happened if it has like English words on it? Will it like say in German accent but still English, or will it say with just take it as a German pronunciation at all and like destroy the English? Like also that's would be also what I would test like in the future. I mean, what would be interested for me if there's one day like this emotional like emotion detection. I think that would be much like fun. I don't know if it's fun or a lot of work to test. Like, what happened if you, because I think you cannot you cannot just say, okay, now I want to test angry, and like, how well can it detect you fake angry or angry, right? So that will be also an element like to test in the future. I mean, not now, sure, but I hope that someday in the future, like the car really can understand us like emotionally.
Imagine like if you were starting to cry and the car started to vibrate or do some, or maybe it parks like, okay, you are no longer concentrating now. It would auto park for you. That would be so interesting. You actually, went to my last question, which is future of vehicle automation, but I want to talk about impact on climate change because everybody cares about the climate now. We all should. And we're constantly using data and pulling data, and there's obviously concerns about data storage. How do you think the efficiency of the design of some of these automation systems directly or indirectly contribute to or mitigate environmental impact. For instance, like if you're optimizing the navigation, if you're trying to reduce driver distraction, you're teaching the vehicle to read usage patterns. Are there any green ripples that you're seeing in the technology that they're implementing in vehicles today? Like things that are actually good for the environment in the way we're designing or approaching vehicle automation today?
Well, I mean, you're talking about like driver distraction. I guess with speech, like why speech is there. I think it's also like to ensure that you are not distracted enough. You can just still focus on the street. And then you don't have to, like I think back in the day, if you want to navigate somewhere without, let's say, before Google, before like Apple CarPlay, you would just
Mhm.
like, if you're alone, you have to stop somewhere and like you have to open the map and like, okay, I have to go and this side and that side. And it could be that you forget where you have to go. And then there again you go. And not only, yeah, but with speech, you can just say like now, hey, navigate me to this and it will calculate. So it's not directly, I would say, but indirectly also it helps to reduce the driver distraction. So you can
Yeah.
have like a smoother driving. And I guess this day with navigation, they have become more advanced that it can actually, I mean, in any maps now, if you have like traffic jam on the way, I think it will try to reroute you to the faster and more efficient way. So I
Mm,
guess this is also already like contributing to environment.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
also like lane assist or just like that also helps, right? Because you don't have to always gas or like press the gas pedal so often. You can just say, okay, I want to drive now. I mean, lane assist and like I want to drive 120 kilometer per hour. So it
Yes.
just drive. You need, of course, to pay attention, but at least you doesn't have to always like gas, I mean, put pedal, put brakes, and so on. And what I like about hybrid cars is or EV car, when you actually like brakes or when you like go down, I think this is not software wise, but hardware wise, the car machine wise, that they actually recharge a little bit of itself. So
Mm.
I found it really good. Like when I drive EV and I say, okay, just sometimes I'm curious to see with all the brakes that I put, how many percentage that is actually like, charge itself. I mean, it was a nice feature.
Well, that is amazing. I didn't know that. See, now you're making me want to go get an EV, but I don't have the money for it. But yes, yes, yes to everything that you said, because even my car has the lane assist. It has the cruise control where I can set how fast I want to
Yes.
go, and also set the distance that I want to have between me and the next car. And it auto brakes as well. So, or it would slow down. So if I'm getting closer to the car, it would auto slow down. And then once the car moves away, it auto picks up for me as well. Another thing I noticed, I haven't had to use it maybe 3 times in the 4 years that I've been driving my car, is that it would brake for me if I don't brake, if I forget to brake and somebody just hit brake in front of me, stops me or prevents accidents for me. And I see a lot of these. And to your point, they're not directly impacting climate change, but I imagine that with the efficient design, reduction in accidents, so that is definitely having a positive impact on climate change. I was going to ask about regulation and privacy laws, but we already talked about regulations and privacy laws and how important they are, regardless of what you're doing. So you're looking at the vehicle law, the laws that are enacted. And one thing that I did want to say about that is working in the legal field. I do know that when a new law is introduced, at least in the US, I don't know how it works in Europe, if it's introduced, we know because we have like pulse on new laws as it relates to real estate where I work. But I can imagine like in vehicle too, it doesn't pass immediately. It has to go through vote. They have to present it. The legislator who introduces it has to pitch about it to the Senate, to the House before it's passed to law. So usually it might take a year or a year and a half before that even goes into implementation. And that helps with development of systems like yours, in that you can plan ahead for laws that you know is coming and adjust accordingly.
There was like, I think a rumor like a few months ago, like when Trump say we don't want any product from China, like
Mm.
anything. So, like I mean, it's a scary statement. Like, if it comes true, like, it's a scary, like, okay, how do you ensure, like, if you have team, like, for example, in China, how do you make sure that your product can be still be shipped to China, for example? So that's just a saying, right? But it's not even like legally there yet, but like, yeah, higher ups, they have to start thinking of strategies. So yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I didn't even think of that, but yes, there's things like that as well. So my last question is about the future of vehicle automation. You already talked about emotion detection. Like, what other feature are you most excited about or hope that we will start seeing in this space? Obviously, there's generative AI, there's multimodal interfaces, there's so many things, but you know about these that I do. So, like, what else are you excited to see in this space?
Well, I mean, yeah, multimodal Gen AI. I mean, I'm excited to see like what you can like achieve in the car with your voice, like what you can say, what can it understand and actually do for you. So yeah, I mean, I cannot like say it like openly, but I'm really excited about something. Like, I
Yeah,
hope that it will happen in the future.
yeah.
But also speaking like outside of voice wise, I would say, this automation level 4 or 5, where actually driver is not required. I guess for somebody who does not like to drive, but this is still like become an option for them. Okay, I want to have a car. I cannot drive, or I am a bit afraid to drive, and it will help me. Like,
Right.
yeah, so I guess for some people, or like, let's say people that are not confident enough, or like have a little bit disability to be able to drive, I
Mhm.
guess this feature, I mean, the future, I really hope, like, let's see if it really comes in the future that you don't need a driver to always be able to go somewhere A to B, like
Self.
with your own car.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know we already have some self-driving vehicles, but like, well, there's been crashes, so hope to see like less crashes and more
Yes.
efficiency. No, that sounds very exciting. Obviously, I know like you can't talk about anything that you have in the pipeline, but it's definitely again based on research, based on what we're seeing, exciting to see how automation continues to evolve. I've learned a ton from this conversation. I've learned so much. Danke.
Petition.
Before we go, I'm gonna have you say something to the people in German, but like hold that thought. Start thinking about what you want to say. And you're going to have to translate it to English because obviously I don't understand. Listeners, we've been talking about the intelligent co-pilot and the ripple effect of automation in modern vehicles. And we've had such an exciting, interesting, geeked out conversation today around vehicle automation and some of the things that we are seeing and the evolution of vehicles and how Dallas' role in testing plays a huge part in releasing the vehicle. So you may have driven in a car that Dala has tested for. You may or may not have. We can't say that we can't share that information here, but her work is extremely interesting and important in how we continue to use and interact with vehicles. There are several roles that exist in this space. We've listed it. Go back and listen, check it out. There's several roles. So for people, listeners who are looking for jobs and don't know the roles that exist, there are opportunities for you in different spaces. And again, we're seeing cars continue to evolve, self-driving vehicles, or a driverless car. There's exciting things in this space. And of course, we cannot forget climate impact, and we should continue to review how we utilize vehicles and be more efficient about our driving, the places that we're going. Better still, get an EV. I don't have an EV right now. Maybe in a few years, when I'm ready to change my car, I'll definitely be switching over to the EV. But for now, I'm still using gas. But there's things to do around gas vehicles too. If there's ethical and climate ways of getting gas to us, fuel to us, I'm sure there's things that can be done in that space as well. Dala, thank you so much.
Thank you too for like inviting me.
Yes, yes, yes. So, do you have any final things to share with our audience in German and in
I,
English?
I don't know. I just say, lieber Zuschauer, how do you say for the Podcast? I mean, for if you listen Zuhörer, also vielen Dank für eure Zeit, dass ihr auch also zuhört. Bis zum nächsten Mal in 9 to 5 Podcast. Cheers.
Now translate.
I said like, dear like listener, thank you very much for like having your time to listen to the podcast. Like, see you in the next 9 to 5 podcast. Bye bye.
Yes, thank you so much. I love that so much. I love
That might have some grammatic.
it's all good. It's all good. I don't know that we have many German listeners. Maybe we'll have German listeners after this. But I'm very excited. Listeners, thank you so much for being here. Like I said, I'm so excited to see this technological advancements that we're seeing in vehicle automation. And we know it's creating powerful ripples. Over the last just even 10, 15 years, we've seen how vehicles have evolved from being like robotic voice automation to now just being able to tell your car to call somebody and do more for you. This conversation just helps me understand that there is a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of roles. There's a lot of spaces that exist for you to find roles. Like Dala got pulled into this job without even looking for it. So the spaces only if you look. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to this podcast episode. Remember, you are the architect of your journey, or you can get an intelligent co pilot to go along with you. You can find all of our episodes on everywhere that you stream your podcast. Specifically for us, we push to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and the visuals always available on YouTube for you to see both of our faces and experience this podcast in a different way. You can also follow us on all of our social media at the 9 to 5 Blueprint for any information. And if you have any questions, drop it in the comments or interact with this podcast episode. Check out our website, www.the9to5blueprint.com, for more information on everything we're doing at the 9 to 5 Blueprint. Until next time, drive safe and stay curious about the ripple effects all around us. See you on the next one. Bye.